Greetings, yogis. I'm Rebecca, and in this class, we will start with an exploration of Cobra Pose as we use the breath to investigate the back body and the spine. We'll move into some twists, some floor work, some pyramid pose, and use those to lengthen the back body and the hamstrings. As we gain awareness of the back body, we'll carry that awareness with us as we reconnect ourselves to what has our back. 2 blocks and a strap can be used for this practice, or 2 sturdy books and a towel, or no props at all. So go and gather what you need, and I'll see you on the mat. We are actually going to start this morning on our bellies. So if you're feeling a little sleepy today, this may be a good place for you to start too. So we're going to take ourselves down onto our bellies and think about where you like to have your arms positioned here. If you have a block handy, you might bring a block under your head. You could bring your hands underneath your head, or you could even extend your hands out long next to your hips. So just take a minute here to find what's most comfortable for you. And once you've found your comfortable spot, just take a nice deep breath and just let everything relax here. And then I want you to just notice your breath. We say notice the breath, but don't change the breath. When you begin to notice the breath, it has a tendency to change on its own. So just let that transition happen. And you'll notice that you start smoothing out, equaling out the breath all on your own. Lying here in this belly down position, where the breath is coming into your body becomes very clear. So begin to bring the breath all the way down into the belly. Fill up the belly, feel it pressing into the floor, and then release. And maybe on your next breath, fill up the belly and then bring the breath slightly into the heart space. And then release the breath from the heart space. And release the breath from the belly. With your next breath, let the breath fill the belly and the heart space and the chest all the way to the top of the lungs. And then let it out first from the chest, then from the heart space, then from the belly. Take your next breath just like that, filling all the way to the top of the lungs, but bringing your awareness to the back body. What's happening
in the spine as you fill up the belly and the chest. Notice that sort of slight accordion motion of the spinal bones flexing away from each other and then contracting back together as you breathe. And one last time here. Filling the belly, feeling the lumbar expand. And then the middle of the spine and the upper back. Nice. I'm going to take the hands out from underneath the head and just gently bring the hands back in alignment with the chest. Placing the hands on the floor here and pulling the elbows towards each other. And again, just bringing that awareness to the back body, feeling the shoulder blades engage towards each other in the upper back. And then keeping the hands very lightly here on the floor. We'll press the pubic bone and the tops of the feet into the mat. And we'll inhale into a very small baby cobra here. Keeping the hands light, using just the back muscles. And then release. And then do this again. Inhaling up to baby cobra. And maybe you even float the hands above the mat just a little here to remind yourself we're not using the hands here, only the back muscles. And exhale, release. And then inhaling up, still just using these back muscles, but this time we'll allow the hands to connect with the floor. We're pressing into the heels of the hands here, but pulling the hands back. So we're not pressing down, we're pulling back. And feel how that engages those back muscles even more, allowing the heart to be pulled forward. This is baby cobra. And then allow that to release. Taking a deep cleansing breath here. And now we'll continue with this exploration of the back body. So normally when we come up into cobra, we inhale into cobra. So this time we're going to experiment with exhaling as we come into cobra and feel how that changes that experience. So taking a nice deep inhale here. And then as you're exhaling, coming into cobra, pressing the pubic bone into the floor, pulling back on the heels of the hands, pressing the tops of the feet into the mat, and see how your body rises even more. Exhale, release. We'll do this one last time. Nice full deep breath. And then exhale. Coming up, baby cobra. Take a full breath. And then release. Good. And now pressing gently into both hands. We'll come up into our tabletop, bringing the wrists right underneath the shoulders. Knees are right underneath the hips. And finding that nice neutral spine. In the beginning, just a little cat-cow here. Drawing that belly button into the spine and allowing the tailbone to follow the breath. Really continuing to experience the back body here today. So feeling what that spine does, what the skin of the back does as you move through this familiar motion. See if you can notice something new. And now bring that to stillness. We're going to allow the knees to become wide or close together based on what your body feels this morning. And with our next exhale, just shift the hips back. Still keeping that focus on the back body. And play around here a little with your child's pose. Maybe reaching out in front, perhaps bringing the hands underneath the forehead as we did at the beginning, or perhaps allowing the hands to come around behind, allowing the shoulders to round forward and the skin of the back to stretch. Again, just bring the focus to the breath, taking that 3-part breath as we did at the beginning, filling up the belly, then the heart space, and then all the way to the top of the chest. And then allow that to release in the same order, top of the chest first, heart space, and then belly. Good. And then taking the hands back out front. We'll inhale to ride the breath back up into tabletop. And then take our hands a couple of handprints out front, turning the toes under, pressing into our nice wide starfish fingers, and slowly bringing the hips up, keeping the knees nice and bent. And feeling that back body straighten out, pressing up out of the shoulders, and feeling that tailbone to crown of the head connection, maybe rotating that tailbone up towards the ceiling just a little more. And then just begin to slowly pedal out the feet. When we think of the back body, we often think of only the back, but of course the backs of the legs are part of the back body too. So now we've brought the whole back body into the equation here. So what does your awareness tell you about your hamstrings and the backs of your legs today? Maybe you're like, oh my God, it tells me the backs of my hamstrings, they're so tight. Well, that's okay. See if you can experience a little loosening that your body does with each pedal of your feet. Now inhaling up to the toes. We'll really press away from the mat here, coming up out of the shoulder joint. And exhale, heels gently slide down. And then bending the knees quite deeply, we'll take the gaze forward, walking the feet up to the top of the mat and coming into our forward fold. And you can keep the knees very bent here so that the fingertips can come to the floor. If you have a block handy, you might use a block here. So finding whatever variation suits you. And then just continue to experience the hamstrings here, maybe bringing yourself a little from side to side, bringing in a little bit of the side body. Taking a deep breath, letting it all out. And now we'll meet back in the center. Again, you can keep those knees nice and bent, or you can bring a block in or a book. And let's just bring that block or the fingertips right in front of the left leg here. And we're going to check that alignment of the shoulder over the wrist here so that we have a nice straight line down from the shoulder to the wrist. And then keeping the knees bent, we'll inhale the right arm up. And as we do so, straighten through that right leg. Allowing the crown of the head to relax down towards the floor. And just noticing what's happening here. Noticing the extension of the hamstring. Maybe also noticing what the emotional self is doing with this little twist and extension. And then exhale to release. Bring the block in front of the right foot now, deepening into the knees. And inhaling, open the left arm, straightening through the left knee. Is this different? Does it feel the same? What does it feel like? And exhaling to release. We'll do this again. Inhaling as we open to the right. Nice deep breath. Exhale, release. And then switching to the other side. And exhale to release. And now bending both knees deeply, maybe moving your block out of the way. We'll take the hands above the bent knees. We're going to rise up slowly, one vertebra at a time, but keeping the back straight here. Coming up very slowly. Head is the last thing to come up, but in line with the spine. Rolling the shoulders onto the back. And coming up to stand. So a lot of yoga teachers will teach as we come up to bend through the spine, and I'll show you that. Maybe rising up like this, one vertebra at a time, and then bringing the shoulders and the head in alignment. And that's fine for most people. But if you have any back limitations that can put extra strain on the spine, if you think of lifting a heavy object, when you go to lift a heavy object, you would never want to move it this way. We always want to keep the back nice and straight. So you can choose whatever variation works for you, but just thought I'd share that with you. So we'll come up to stand in our Tadasana, and you can bring your hands to heart center, or you can bring your hands to your sides. And we spend a lot of time in Tadasana noticing what's happening in the front body. So let's just bring some awareness here into the back body. So we're still going to pull the abs in, but see if you can feel the engagement of those deep muscles that help bring the belly button into the back body. Bring some awareness into the calves and feel how your hamstrings are relaxed in extension here. And then allow yourself a nice deep breath. If your hands are at heart center, allow them to be released to your sides. And as we're inhaling up here, feel your scapula rotating on your back, helping your arms reach up overhead. And once your arms are overhead, go ahead and interlace the fingers here, pressing the palms up towards the ceiling. Keeping that little micro bend in the knees. And then we'll inhale. And as we're exhaling, we'll take this over to the right side. And we'll feel this in the left side body. But also notice what your spine is doing here, getting this lateral flexion. Inhale back up to center. Exhale over to the left. Lateral extension of the spine. Inhale up to center. We'll do this one more time. Exhaling over to the right and really see your spine here. See how it spreads open like a fan on one side. And yes, of course, you can't really see your spine, but just imagine. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling to the other side. Inhale back to center. And exhale. Allow your arms to rain down. And we'll just counter that stretch here by interlacing the fingers behind the low back and pressing down and away. Feeling the chest and collarbones open up. Feeling the shoulders really come together on the back body. And then if you like, you can keep it here, or you can bend the knees and we'll slowly tip forward, just allowing the shoulders to very naturally follow to wherever they'd like to go here. But being aware of the shoulders falling forward into the shoulder joint, we want to keep them moving back. Nice big deep breath here. And then allowing those fingers to release, sweeping the mat, and then inhaling up to stand with a flat back. And you might inhale your fingers up overhead if you haven't already. Feel that nice extension. And then as we're exhaling, twist to one side, arms come down halfway. Coming into a little spinal twist here. Inhaling, arms overhead. Exhale, arms come down. Keeping that little bend in the knees, watching for hyperextension. Inhaling, arms overhead. Exhale, arms come down. Inhale, arms overhead. And exhale, twisting to the side. Arms come down. Inhale, arms overhead. And exhale. We'll release down into a forward fold. And then inhale up halfway. And let's exhale back into the fold. We can plant our hands here, stepping back with both feet, coming into plank or half plank. Pulling that belly button into the spine Pulling the elbows into the sides of the body and really experience as you go down very slowly here, the body brushing next to the arms until you come all the way down. Relax to the floor. And practicing again what we did with baby cobra at the beginning of class. So really pressing that pubic bone into the floor, the tops of the feet into the floor, maybe even floating the hands just a little. And we'll use our inhale to float up in baby cobra, using those back muscles only. Head is in alignment with the rest of the spine. Exhale to release. Holding that belly button in. Exhaling as we come back to plank or half plank. Rolling the toes under, shifting back. Downward facing dog. Feeling that awareness of the back body sweeping up all the way, coming from the crown of the head, up the spine, and floating back down the legs, taking the weight of the body with it towards the heels. Not really concerned here with whether or not the heels connect with the mat. Big deep breath here. And then keeping this awareness in the back body, we'll bring the big toes together. And I want you to slowly engage, planting down through the left heel as we begin to bring that right foot up from the mat. So feel all the little different muscles that have to engage as you lift that leg. And once you've found your way up to the top, take a deep breath. And then exhale, bringing that leg through the hands. And here, if you have some blocks here and want to use them, you can bring them around the foot, creating a little extra space for the upper body. If you don't have blocks, that's fine too. So we'll lower the hips here, coming into this lunge. And we often have a lot of awareness in this pose of what's happening in the extended leg. See if you can bring some attention to what's happening in the bent leg. Feel that engagement of the hamstring and the calf, especially as you press that heel into the mat. Realizing that it's the pulling in of the belly button and the engagement of the heel into the mat that allows you to bring lightness into the hands so that you can move into other variations of this pose. And we'll drop that left knee to the mat here. If you'd like to shine your heart forward a little, just stretching out through that left hip flexor. We're giving the back body all the love today, but we got to give the front body a little love too. We'll take a nice big inhale, and as we're exhaling, we'll shift the hips back. You can drag your blocks back with you or just bring your fingertips, they're attached. And then flex the toes back towards the face. Feeling that stretch down the back of the front leg. Trying to keep that spine nice and straight. And then we'll exhale as we come back forward. And let's do this one more time. Inhaling here. And then exhaling, shifting the hips back. Rolling forward through that foot as we inhale. Maybe shifting the blocks back out of the way. We'll plant the hands. Coming back to plank or half plank. And then coming through a little chaturanga here if you like. Or coming straight to down dog. It's up to you. If you're coming through baby cobra, using those back muscles. Exhale, release. Turning the toes under. Pressing back up through plank. And into downward facing dog. And now bringing the big toes together. We'll root down through that right heel. And again, slowly, very slowly, sliding that left foot up the invisible wall. Feeling all the different engagement of the muscle in the back of the leg. Taking a deep breath at the top. And then exhale, bringing that foot through the hands. And you can bring your blocks back in if you like. Shining the heart space forward. Pressing the heel into the floor. Maybe bringing some lightness into the hands. And then bringing the right knee down to the mat. Dragging back through that left hip. Toes come up towards the face. And remember to continue being aware and kind here in your own body. Maybe you need a little bend in the knee. Maybe the toes don't come up towards the face very much on one side. Just focusing on that sensation in the back of the leg here more than the shape that your body is in. And now rolling forward, coming back into our low lunge, pressing forward through that right hip, giving that hip flexor a little love. And then exhaling back. Toes come back towards the face. And then rolling forward. And shifting the blocks out of the way. Planting the hands. Coming to plank or half plank and maybe heading directly to your down dog or coming through vinyasa. And we'll find our way up to the top of the mat now so you can walk or hop your feet up to the top, inhaling up halfway. Exhale to release. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Exhale, hands come down to heart center. Good. So let's find our way into warrior one here. So you can bring your hands to your waist. A little bit of a springiness into the knees here, pulling that belly button in to stabilize the spine, and then taking a nice big step back with the left leg. Now the left toes are going to point at a little angle, maybe towards the top corner of your mat. And with your hands on your hips here, you can really use your hands to drive your hips a little. And I mean that in terms of steer, not push. So just steer your hips around a little so that they're square to the front of the mat. And once you've found your way there, deepen into that front knee, bringing the knee right over the ankle and really pressing into the heel and the back foot. And when you press into that heel, you'll be able to feel the engagement once again of those hamstrings down the back of the leg. So just experience that for a minute. See what feels in balance here, what feels off balance. Imagine pulling the thighs towards each other, pulling the belly button back to the spine, engaging that pelvic floor muscle. Actually helps with balance tremendously in Warrior One. Now keeping all of that awareness, we'll inhale the arms up overhead. And let's come into another twist here. Inhaling the arms up. We'll exhale as you twist toward the front leg. Bringing the arms down halfway. And then sweeping that back hand back up, inhaling the arms up overhead. And we'll reach up tall through the right fingertips here. We're going to allow that left hand to come down to the back, the thigh, really reaching up. And you can take the gaze down to the left if you like. And then we'll inhale as we bring that left arm back up and then extend nice and long through those left fingertips, sweeping the right arm around behind and bringing the gaze down to the right. Sweeping that right arm up overhead and exhaling, allowing the hands to come down to the lower back. We'll extend through the front knee, bringing it straight but not locked here. We want still to have that little micro bend in the knee. And you can bring your hands around into a reverse namaskara if that's part of your practice, or just allow your fists to bump against each other. Again, pulling those shoulder blades onto the back, bringing that awareness into what the back body is doing here. And then exhaling, tilting forward, coming into pyramid pose. Temptation to lock out that front knee is there when we tilt forward. So bringing that micro bend back in, feeling the feet pushing away from each other on the mat, almost like you might tear the mat apart with the feet. And if at some point you like to move the hands or fingertips down or grab your blocks to place around your foot, you can always bring that in as well. And then we'll inhale to release, bending into the front knee, allowing the hands to sweep up overhead, coming back into our warrior one. And then we'll bring the hands down to the waistline and bring the left foot back to meet the right. So let's do this again on the other side. Taking the hands to the hips, shoulders coming together in the back, belly button coming in. Nice big step back with the right leg here. Bending into the left knee, right knee's at a bit of an angle, steering those hips towards the short end of the mat. Inhaling, arms come up overhead. Feeling that spine stretch out nice and long. Imagining creating space between the vertebrae here. And then we'll exhale towards the left, arms come down halfway. Pulling the thighs together, engaging the pelvic floor muscle. Inhaling that left arm around, arms come back up overhead. Reaching up through the left fingertips, right fingertips, sweep down, coming to the back of the right leg. Gaze comes down and to the right. Feeling that little shake and tremble, maybe in the back of the hamstrings here. Inhaling, right arm comes up overhead, reaching up through the right fingertips. Exhaling, left fingertips come to the back of the right thigh. Gaze shifts down. Left arm sweeps back up to meet right. Exhale, hands come down to the waistline, extending through the front leg, tearing the mat apart with the feet here. And again, bringing those hands to reverse namaskara or bumping the fists together. Holding a pencil between the shoulder blades and the back. As we exhale down, straight spine, tilting from the waist. tilting from the hip crease, actually, not the waist. And experiencing the back of the front leg here. Again, finding the variations that suit you. Maybe bringing your fingertips down to the mat. Maybe bringing in some blocks, or maybe just keeping your fists bumping against one another. And then we'll allow this to release by bending into the front knee, sweeping the arms up overhead. And exhale, hands come down to the waist. Right foot comes to meet left. And if you like, you can release into a forward fold. And inhale up to stand with a flat back. Hands coming to heart center. And maybe wiggle the legs just a little here. Just notice, what does the back of the body feel like? What do the hamstrings and the calves have to say? How about the back of the neck? You relax your shoulders away from your ears here and allow the back of the neck to relax as well. And imagine here that you're pulling the back of the head back. Feel how that tucks the chin just slightly, and bring some awareness into how that stretches out the muscles in the back of the neck. When we're in front of computers and small screens all day, we have a tendency to jet the chin and the head forward, putting strain on that cervical spine. So pull the back of the head back here, tucking the chin. There are several locks in yoga that we talk about. We talk about our foot lock, allowing those arches to rise from the mat. We talk a lot about Mula Bandha, pelvic floor, or Uddiyana Bandha, bringing the belly button into the spine, but we don't talk very much about this lock called Jalala Bandha. So bring the chin into Jalala Bandha. And now we'll inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale, coming down into forward fold. And we'll plant the hands here, stepping back to plank or half plank, and then finding our way down back to tabletop and shifting the hips back. Child's pose. And again, find whatever child's pose variation works best for you here. Maybe hands are reaching out long. Maybe they've come along behind. Maybe knees are wide. Maybe they're close together. Wherever you find yourself, just notice. Bring your focus back to your breath. We've been using other awarenesses, so come back to this awareness of the breath. And then we'll allow that to release, bringing the hands back close to the face. We'll press up from our child's pose, shifting the knees out to the side. And let's come onto our backs now. Bringing the knees into the chest. Maybe rolling a little from side to side. And then allow the soles of the feet to relax down to the floor. If you have a strap or a towel handy, you can grab that. If not, you can just grab onto your leg or pants, whatever you got here. So we're going to take this strap or towel And we're going to wrap that around the ball of the right foot, extending that right heel up towards the ceiling and allowing the hands to walk up the strap here. And then just allowing the shoulders to relax, using the weight of the arms to stretch through the hamstring of the right leg. So again, you might practice that Jalala Bandha here a little in this position, feeling what it's like to press the back of the head into the mat and how that draws the chin into the chest and lengthens out the back of the neck. You can have quite a bit of a bend in your knee here if you need to, or maybe your knee is straightened out. Either one is fine. Feeling that sensation of stretch down the back of the leg. And then bringing both straps into one hand, the right hand. We'll extend that left arm out long, or you can keep your left hand on your left hip. And we're going to open this right leg out to the right side. Bringing some awareness into that left knee, making sure it continues to shine forward. Keeping the left hip on the floor. And still having that awareness of what's happening in the back body here. What points are in contact with the floor? Where do you feel lightness or tension? And now we'll inhale that right leg back up overhead, extending out long through the left leg, taking both sides of the strap in the left hand, right arm comes out long, and then just bringing that left leg over to the right just slightly, keeping that left hip on the floor. Keeping some awareness in those left toes, keeping that foot engaged and bright, and feeling how that engages the calf muscle on the left side. Often we're bringing so much attention into what's happening in the active leg in this pose that we forget there's awareness to be had in the other leg as well. And now inhaling that leg up overhead, we'll bring the left sole of the foot back to the floor. And I'll just take the right outside of the foot to the top of the left thigh here. And rather than coming into our usual reclined pigeon, although you can certainly do that if you like to, I'd like for you to just take your right hand and press your right knee away. It's more than getting that stretch in the side of the leg here, just coming into this external rotation, right leg. And now keeping that external rotation, pull in through the belly button. And on our next exhale, go ahead and lift that left leg. And see how I'm continuing to press away slightly on the right leg. I'm also aware of my lower back really pressing into the mat here. So we're flattening out that little lumbar curve. And now allow that to release. We'll take the right sole of the foot down to the floor. And repeat this on the left. Just taking the strap around the ball of the left foot. Walking those hands up the strap, allowing the shoulders to relax back. Bringing in that little Jalala Bandha. Just allowing those little micro stretches to happen in the muscle here. Feel how it releases just one tiny bit at a time. And then bringing both straps into the left hand. You can again choose placement of your right hand on your hip or out long on the floor. And we'll open that left leg out to the side. Right knee stays shining forward. Where are your connections to the floor? Where are your connections to your support and to your source? When we think of support in our lives, we often think of what comes behind us. We say, someone has my back. So bringing our awareness into the back body today, an opportunity for us all to experience having our own back. Good. And now inhaling that left leg up, we'll extend the right leg long along the floor, taking both straps into the right hand, extending the left arm, and then just allowing that left leg to come over to the right just slightly. Keeping that engagement in the right foot. Practicing shifting our awareness from what's happening in the active left leg here to what's happening in the right leg. Just a little yoga for the mind. And then inhaling to release, we'll bring the right sole of the foot to the floor, taking the outside edge of the left leg to the top of the right thigh. And again, just pressing away here with the left hand on the left leg. Experiencing that external rotation of the hip. And then keeping that engagement there. Inhaling, and on our next exhale, allowing that right leg to rise from the floor. A little different spin on our usual supine Eka Pada Raja Kaptanasana. Page it. And now allow that right sole of the foot to find the floor. We'll release the left foot, pulling both knees back into the chest, rolling out through the lower back slightly. And then let's just allow the arms to come down to the sides. We'll pull the knees into the chest tightly, and then let them fall over to the right, bringing the gaze over the left shoulder, bringing out that spine. Very few ways for our spine to really come into extension and make space in between the vertebrae. But a twist is actually one of these, axial extension. And then inhaling the knees back to the chest, allowing that lower lumbar area to roll out and equalize before we exhale and take the knees over to the left, shifting the gaze over the right shoulder. And then inhaling the knees back to the chest. Take one last roll out through the entire spine here. And just see if you can feel all of those little bones working your way up from the small of the back all the way up to the tiny little bones in the back of the neck. And then allow the knees to part. We'll reach through, grabbing the toes or the outsides of the feet or the ankles, coming into a happy baby. Again, engaging that back of the head into the mat, pulling the chest in slightly. And if that's a real challenge, you might want to keep a block or a blanket handy for happy baby so that you can keep that extension of the cervical spine. And then we'll bring stillness and allow the soles of the feet to come to touch, extending all the way out long. And coming into our Shavasana. Just allowing yourself to relax. Again, feeling all those places where the back body connects with the mat, with the earth, with your source. Feeling your heels and your calves, maybe the back of the legs slightly. Tailbone, shoulders, elbows, backs of the hands, back of the head. And knowing that the earth and your yoga and you yourself, you always have your back. And then when you're ready, roll yourself to one side. Or if you like, you can take a deep breath first and wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you've found yourself on your side, just take a moment here to be aware of your spine in this side lying position and how it naturally curves. And then when you're ready, use your hands to press yourself back up to a seated position, keeping your eyes closed and your gaze lowered. And bring your hands to heart center. And I'll close today with a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, who says, "The quality of our life depends on the quality of the seeds that lie deep within your consciousness." May you have planted seeds of strength and comfort today. And thank you so much for joining me for this practice. May your yoga follow you off the mat.